Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2018 and the next part of this experiment where we are taking a look at what would happen if you released all players from 22 different leagues, gave them full cash and also gave them the maximum reputation. Now, at the end of the last episode, I asked you guys to let me know if there were things you wanted to see, and you helpfully pointed out that there is a world-leading transfers screen, which I've loaded up now. I believe this covers the entire period of the saves so far, so taking us right up to 2022. I've ordered them in terms of the highest cost, and you can see that Samuel Umtiti from Nice to Manchester United at £164 million just beats out Kylian Mbappe, whose historic, I think, transfer to PSG was left in the game. So he has moved for £160 million on a free transfer. So I wonder if Mbappe actually received the £160 million himself. But you've also got Zivkovic going for 151. They're the three biggest transfers. Other big ones in here. The players are a little bit unusual. They're all over 100 million down here, but there's not any of the absolutely major names you would expect. You've got Laporte leaving Nice as well, Delete leaving Nice. They've racked up about 500 million in transfers received just on three players. The biggest spenders, I don't think there's really any teams popping up more than once here that I can see. But Juventus have got a couple in there at over 100 million. But generally, no major names in there. The Ronaldo's, Messi's going an awful lot cheaper than this. So that was just something for you guys to have a look at. What we're going to do today is go forward 5 whole years. We'll then have another look at this world-leading transfer screen and see if it's changed at all. And we'll also take a look at the major leagues. What we're going to focus on now is less the individual players and clubs and more the overall structure of the leagues. Which ones are dominating? Which ones are winning the Champions League? And if major teams have fallen down their league pyramids into the lower leagues. So that's what we're focusing on. We'll go forward 5 years now and see where we're at. Well, we are now 5 years into the future, and as you can see, Burnley have won the league ahead of United and Everton. Interesting that Manchester City have picked their position up to 4th place, and if we have a look at the stages screen, then drop back to where we left off last time, which was this season here when Everton won by 4 points. The following year, United actually came in. You had almost a return to the order, or natural order, with United winning ahead of Arsenal, Liverpool in 4th. But interesting that Burnley holding on to their position. The following year, Everton won again with Burnley in 2nd place. Port Vale up in 4th. They have absolutely shot up the ranks. If we have a quick look at their trajectory, you can see they were down in I think they must have been in League 2 the first season of the game. They got promoted in first place, a couple of seasons in the Championship before winning it, and then 4th, dropping down to 17th. But they have absolutely exploded onto the scene in the Premier League. The following year, you had Everton winning it. Interesting, a few clubs getting hit with violation of budget rules, which sees them dropped 5 points. I don't know what that means and why that is different to administration. Clearly, the clubs aren't in administration. So it must be the opposite end of financial fair play, where clubs are just spending more money than they are allowed to and exceeding their budget. So interesting that Aston Villa actually got relegated, although they would have got relegated anyway regardless, but Millwall surviving despite that 5-point gap. Everton winning the title this time, and then Burnley taking it the year after, and finally you have Burnley winning it with United, Everton and City, then Liverpool, West Ham and Swansea. Not too many changes in the structure of the Premier League, but if we have a look at the Championship, Chelsea in 4th place. They've been down there for a while without getting out. Sunderland and Newcastle both relegated to League 1. And in League 1, other big teams, you've got Stoke down here, Palace down here. But that's about it for the old Premier League teams. And finally, in League 2, you do have QPR, Notts Forest, Derby are down here. But no Premier League teams at the start of this save. Norwich down there as well. Nobody has fallen quite that far, which is interesting that it seems to have balanced out a little bit. But great to see that Burnley now establish themselves as a Premier League title winning side on a regular basis. They've now won 4 Premier League titles, Everton with 3, Liverpool getting that rare title as well, but they won't enjoy Everton winning 3 of them after they won theirs. And Spurs getting a title as well. Manchester United hovering in and about the top 3 at every single instance. But you can see that the Premier League no longer the leading division. You've actually got Ligue 1 and Ligue 2 are the 2 highest ranked leagues. And if we have a look at the competition reputation screen, you can see they're all still on maximum reputation. That hasn't really changed. Some of the Swedish leagues have dropped down though, and they were leading for such a long time. Other leagues falling slightly further back. The Serbian league and Portuguese leagues also dropping, but the major leagues all hanging on, including the bottom tiers of English football, which is absolutely insane. If we have a look at Ligue 1, I assume this has been won quite comfortably by PSG as it was before. The database taken a long time to load with all these changes and having gone so far into the future. It's actually been won by Monaco, and if we have a look at the league table, you can see they won it by 7 points. But PSG and Monaco definitely the top teams, switching between them the title every single year. So returning to the original order, nothing different or unusual in that. You had a couple of seasons where Nice, who were the major financial power, were doing well, but they've dropped down quite a bit now, becoming a sort of 7th place team, which is not really good enough. If we have a look at their history and transfer history, you'll see just how much money they have been spending. You can see they're 234 million, 52 million, 143, 245, 101, 551 million after 500 million the year before. That is absolutely incredible. Huge transfer outs as well. 605 million going out of the club. They have absolutely profiteered off this save. I mean, these figures are absolutely incredible. If you do want an interesting save to take on, this really would be a crazy one to do, because you'd be able to bring in all the best players, but you'd be competing on such a crazy level with a lot of these clubs who all have the same financial power. So I think in terms of playing, this would be a fantastic database to do. You can see in Ligue 2, not sure why this is the 2nd ranked league. It was previously the 9th ranked league, so you can see it's incredibly volatile with virtually no difference between the leagues whatsoever. I think it takes a long time for reputation to settle when it comes to the leagues, because the clubs all still have high reputation. But there's nothing really to look at in Ligue 2. I think unless you're very familiar with these leagues, it's not going to be all that worthwhile spending too much time on them. You do have La Liga though. Barcelona had become the dominant side in La Liga, and we saw Real Madrid were creeping up the table, but it was taking them some time. And you can see Barcelona still champions ahead of Real Madrid. Same the year before, but Vigo did manage to win it with a head-to-head record, I assume, over Real Madrid, but Barca won it the year before that. As such is their dominance. If we go back again and have a look at the German First Division, then we might be able to see who's been doing well in this league. And as you can see, Hanover, the top team, winning it by just 1 point over 2 other sides, Stuttgart and Köln. Bayern further behind, but Bayern did win it the year before, Dortmund before that, Hanover before that, Köln before that, and Köln a few times. Meaning the past winners of the Bundesliga are looking quite varied, and you can see the gaps at the top are very, very tight as well. If this has done anything, it has really made every league so much more competitive, which would make it a lot more enjoyable to play, I think, rather than the standard outcome that we see every single FM season or series. If we have a look at Serie A, we had a few incredible finishes in Serie A with 3 teams finishing on 80 points 2 years in a row. I'm interested to see if they've lived up to that legacy and continue to get those kind of results. You can see Inter, who had won so many titles, winning this one by quite a distance. The year before they won it by 4 points, the year before that by 9, and then Juventus actually won the league 4 points clear of Inter. They won it the year before that, and here are those 2 80-point finished seasons, which is just crazy. Like, I still can't get over that actually happened. But interesting that the league is switching up a little bit there, but still between 2 of the previously dominant sides. Somebody did want me to have a look at the Belgian Pro League and Genk, so I'll quickly show that for them. The league actually not loaded up, which is unfortunate, but you can see Genk did finish 2nd there, and they won the league back in 18-19. Anderlecht have been the dominant club in the Belgian league ever since. But if we have a look at the Champions League and who's been winning that over the previous years, I imagine it's mostly the big teams, and it is the big teams winning it. Burnley now a big team. The only real new force on the block, if you have a look there, they're the only team that isn't an established team winning it. Inter Milan losing the final 3 times in 4 years. Not ideal for them, especially losing it to Juventus. But Burnley now, 2 Champions League titles under their belt. They have become a real force in both the UK, in English football and in Europe as well. But PSG with 3 titles up there. I'm really disappointed that there isn't a bit more just variety in this competition. And if we look at the semi-finals, there's still teams that you would expect to reach this stage. Hanover, the other exception. Everton in there as well, you wouldn't expect that. But nothing too crazy going on there. You got Spartak from Serbia making the last 16, but otherwise, nothing in there to surprise you. And in the Europa League, this is where you get a little bit more change. You had that period of time where the Swedish teams were doing so well, but since then it is the established teams, except for Spal, although they've established themselves in the German league. But there just isn't as much variety as I thought there would be in this experiment at this point. I was expecting a new world order, and that just hasn't been the case whatsoever. If we go to the world screen and just have a look at what is going on there, you can see the Swedish team still listed as the major clubs, but really this is completely interchangeable because the reputation of a lot of clubs just has not changed. If we look at Chester, they are in League 2 now, but they've still got a worldwide reputation because their league reputation is high, which means they retain their reputation. And it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy, really, that because the league takes so long to lose its reputation, the clubs would need to lose their reputation, but the clubs keep their high reputation because they're in a high reputation league. So it's a permanent cycle where the clubs are completely interchangeable, and reputation now has absolutely no bearing on anything whatsoever. You can see here the top players in the world though. Mbappe still in there, Dembele in there now at Arsenal, Dybala at PSG, Harry Kane at Everton, Moise Kean at Man United, and Bernardo Silva in there as well. If we have a look at the transfers and the leading transfers across the world, you can see Mbappe still up there with 160 million. If we change that though, we do have a £205 million transfer. Vinicius Jr. leaving Real Madrid for Monaco, setting a new world transfer record at 205 million. I think that's higher, 5 million higher than Neymar's as well. So a genuine world record transfer. Seems like a good investment as well. Not getting many goals, but he is a left winger, so not quite in the Ronaldo style, but a very high average ratings, having moved there for 40 million. A normal transfer really, because he wasn't a released player. Other entries, you've got Millwall letting Alex Moore go to Fleetwood for £170 million. Doesn't look like the kind of player who would be worth that much money, and as you can see, 157 million spent, and then 2 years later they sold him for 54 million, taking a £100 million plus loss on that man. Julius Flussfeder, he's gone from West Brom. Again, another player worth nowhere near that much money. It's the reputation of the clubs inflating the transfer fee, especially when every club has so much money as well. Coman gone to Montpellier. But nothing really too surprising in these transfers. Obviously, the players will start to become increasingly unrecognisable, so we're just looking to see if there's any crazy fees in there. But I think that will probably be it for this episode. I'm not sure what else there is to have a look at. Do let me know in the comments though if you'd like to see anything else. I'm thinking that I'll do one more part to this experiment, but I'm not sure. If I do, it'll be out in a couple of days time. Drop a like on the video if you'd like to see one more part. If I do that extra part, I'll probably go 10 years into the future for one final look, so do drop a like on the video if you'd like to see that. You could also subscribe. There'll be a new experiment out as soon as this one is finished. You could also support the channel on the website, jenkaldo.com, or on Twitter, using the links in the description. You can also support the channel on Patreon, and you'd get to pick your own experiment, which is what happened here. Jenan picked this experiment after becoming a huge supporter of the channel over on Patreon. So do check that out as well. But until next time, see ya.